Hello there, David Risley here from the Blog Marketing Academy at blogmarketingacademy.com, and I'm here with the weekly update video for October 25, 2018. So I've got a few things to bring you up to speed on today, and also a little bit later in this, I have a couple of questions that were sent in that I want to answer. One of them has to do with somebody who wants to transition from a per product type of thing over to a monthly membership site. And so she was asking my input on that. And then somebody else was asking about some of the stuff at the beginning phases of their online business with regard to how many blog posts they should have in order to launch, as well as some confusion with regard to differing advice from different gurus out there in the space. So I'm going to address those coming up here in the Ask BMA section. But first, a few updates from the Blog Marketing Academy. First of all, over in the daily at blogmarketingacademy.com/daily, which is our free, usually now 3 times per week newsletter. We just wrapped up the list building challenge. And then I talked a little bit about some of the changes that I was making and how I'm personally using Twitter. Coming up in that, I'm going to also be talking about the podcast, because I've been just recently relaunched the podcast, and I was rethinking intros. Like, do we really need to go and have somebody record some kind of an intro jingle for me? And right now I'm kind of leaning toward no. So I'm kind of going to go through that process in an upcoming upcoming issue of the daily. So again, the daily is completely free to everybody. You just got to go over to blogmarketingacademy.com/daily and subscribe. Okay. Over on the blog at the Blog Marketing Academy, I just yesterday published the brand new guide on pricing strategy. And so I cover a lot of different aspects of how do you determine what to charge for your products. Talking about everything from the psychology of pricing, how it affects you, how it affects your customer, how it affects your sales. We talk some about discount pricing, price anchoring. We also talk about some of the fun stuff, like does it really matter when you end your price in 7? Because you see so many internet marketers do that. So if you want to go ahead and check out that post, head on over to the blog at blogmarketingacademy.com, and you'll see that listed right there at the top. Over to the podcast, Coffee Break Blogging at coffeebreakblogging.com came out this week. It was relaunched this week. And the download counts, it's kind of cool because it's sitting there, fairly flat, and then suddenly it's like boom, because there's new episodes coming out now. And so if you have not been subscribed to the daily, I mentioned that list building challenge earlier. Well, this is a good opportunity for you to go through it with me again, because a big part of what we're doing on the podcast is actually taking the stuff that I discuss in the daily and bringing it into audio format inside the podcast. And it's not just me reading the issue of the daily. It's actually, I talk about the same thing, and then I talk kind of like I'm doing to you right now. It's not a reading thing. And so sometimes there's stuff that I will talk about there on the podcast that's not on the daily. But anyways, I'm going through the list building challenge again in the podcast. And then also these weekly updates also do find themselves in the podcast. And so if you're watching this on the video right now, hello, how you doing? However, you may be listening to this on the podcast a little bit later. So anyway, that's Coffee Break Blogging. And if you're not subscribed to the podcast, it's going to be coming out quite regularly now, probably 3 to 4 times a week, sometimes 5. And you can get subscribed over at coffeebreakblogging.com. We're currently in iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher, I believe, and I'm working to get it set up with iHeartRadio and Spotify as soon as I can. There's always some hoops you got to jump through and stuff like that. All right, let's move over into the lab, okay? The lab, of course, is the training side of the Blog Marketing Academy, and we've actually had several new members join this week, which is great. I think I looked, I had like 10 people join us in just the last few days. But anyway, I want to bring you up to speed with what's going on inside the lab. On Tuesday, Yeah, it was Tuesday. We did the office hours call, which is a full Q&A all from members. And some of the things that I talked about were my personal workflow in terms of how I utilize the different tools that I use in my day and my productivity, management system. Because I was asked about that. This guy, I think it was Philip. He was asking about that he's got information on all these different tools, mind maps, Evernote, all this stuff, and he was just finding himself getting a little overwhelmed. So he was asking how I manage it, and I answered him. Okay, I think it was Marilyn asked about how to reduce the bounce rate on her site, and so I took care of that on the office hours. Somebody else was asking about how I personally generate business for my own self, given that I don't blog all that often. And so I kind of went into some of that stuff as well. Now, there were other questions that were answered on the office hours, of course, but that recording is now in the office hours archives for you, and we are working on the transcription for those of you who like to read it. A couple weeks back, we did the live lab workshop in the live training room, and the subject was debugging a shrinking online business. This is the part of business that is, it can be very real for some people because the gurus like to make it seem as if their business only does one thing: succeed at everything. That's the idea they like to put out there. That's not reality. Sometimes things don't work that well. Sometimes you see down periods in the business. And so I did a real talk workshop on some management things that you can do with your business and with your blog if you're not, generating a lot of business yet. When things are going down or when things are kind of flatline, what can you actually do about it? And that was the subject of that workshop. Now, the recording has been in the lab for the last couple weeks. The news on this is that we are just about done with the transcription. So as of this recording, the transcript of that office hours, actually it's not an office hours, it's a workshop. That transcript will be available very shortly inside the lab if you'd like to download that and give it a read. All right. The next workshop coming up here in a couple of weeks is going to be how to develop a cohesive content strategy that won't drive you insane. All right, so we're going to be talking about how can you put together a regular content system, content marketing system that hits different platforms, Facebook, Twitter, maybe podcasting, videos, your blog, what have you, and not feel as if you're constantly churning out new stuff, not go nuts doing it. And so that's what we're going to be talking about. It's actually sort of a topic that came from my own self because this is something that I've been working on lately. I mean, as you can see, the podcast is now restarted. I'm doing these weekly updates. It's all some stuff that I've been just hit the damn thing again. It's all some stuff that I've been revisiting in my business since I got back from my big, long summer travel. So that is coming up in a couple of weeks. The exact date, I don't have it because I don't have my calendar in front of me, but it'll be in a couple of weeks. We'll let you guys know. All right. Lastly, in terms of the lab, the next thing that we're going to be doing in terms of the training, aside from that lab workshop, is a complete revision of the course called the Perfect Blog Blueprint. Now, that course is in the lab right now and it has to do with how to set up your blog and your layout in a way for optimum conversions. So that course is going to be completely redone. In fact, I've got my monitor here. I've actually got the rough outline already in place here. Some of the things like the perfect blog layout, the sidebar, what's the best way to use that sidebar. I'm going to give you some strategies on that. And we're also, of course, going to discuss whether you need a sidebar at all, because you might notice that the Blog Marketing Academy does not have a sidebar. We're going to talk about the best opt-in strategy for your blog, how to do strategic blog navigation so you're not just throwing things in your menu, but everything has been thought through. We're going to talk about how best practices for all the common core pages of the site, including the home page, the about page, getting started, contact page, product pages, blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. We're going to talk about how to engineer the branding on your blog and how to execute on that, color scheme, proper use of categories and tags, how to deal with your blog comments. We're going to go into the perfect blog post and how to format your blog post for optimum reach, SEO, tracking and metrics, and getting all that stuff set up. You get the idea. That's all coming up in the revised version of the Perfect Blog Blueprint. And I do plan to make pretty make haste with this, okay? Because I've got a lot of other things to work on, including a major revision to the blog traffic plan, which is my traffic course, but it's almost hard to call it a course right now because, quite frankly, I did it a long time ago, and it just needs to radically be redone. And so that is coming up here pretty soon as well, but I got to get the perfect blog blueprint done first. Okay, anything else to discuss for the lab? I don't believe so. All right, let's move right into Ask BMA. All right, so Ask BMA, of course, is a question and answer section where I am taking questions that come in from the audience and answer them right here on the weekly update. Today, I chose 2 of them that I would like to talk to you about. Let me pull it up here. All right, the first one is from Deborah, and she's over at legalofficeguru.com. Now, she sells a few courses. She said she's got 6 courses right now that cover a variety of topics, and she's looking to potentially transition from a pay-by-the-course model over to monthly all-access. So she's right now got 6 courses. Each one's being sold separately. She's talking about now going over to a monthly membership model that would give access to all of them. And she says, obviously, I'd like to give previous purchasers continued access to what they've already purchased, of course. What are some other things I need to consider? What, in broad terms, would my project and communication plan look like? All right, so there's a lot there. The big thing is just to set up a membership plugin of some kind. I personally use MemberMouse. But it's what you want to do is have a membership plan that will allow you to sell one-off as well as monthly or yearly or whatever other plan you want. You want something that's got that type of flexibility. And if you have those 6 courses set up inside of that system, then being able to now offer a monthly access from a technical perspective will be very easy to do because it's all in the system. You just set up another pricing model and move on, okay? So, and I use MemberMouse. Other systems might be able to do that as well, but MemberMouse is the one that I personally recommend. I just realized, being that it's got a recurring model, not everybody is into it, but it's a great, great platform. So what are some of the other things that you need to consider? The platform is the main one, honestly, because when it comes to the membership, it really just is a matter of testing it. Like any other offer, you want to test it. And so I don't want you to spend a whole lot of time and effort in a big preparation phase for this. I want you to get the offer out there as soon as possible and see what the test results are. Does anybody buy it? Which is the only test result that actually matters. Other than that, you might want to look at it as a funnel. So, for example, if they buy one of the courses, then they're immediately given a membership option that makes a lot of sense for them, where they get access to all the other ones as well. If you're going to do a monthly all access, you probably want to have some ongoing things that are happening, so that it's not just 6 courses and they're just kind of static. So you want to think through the other member benefits. I mean, you see that with the lab that I do, the lab workshops, I do the office hours, we've got the online community, the member feedback system. There's a lot of things inside the lab aside from just the stuff that we do with regard to the training content. And so you'll need to think that through if you're going to bill monthly. Now, if you want something that's a little bit more passive, then you might not want to have an ongoing monthly system. You might want to just consider doing an upsell where there is essentially a lifetime membership. They get access to all of it. They can buy it in one lump sum or maybe a payment plan, so it'll give you a little mini recurring program, but after a certain number of payments, it will stop. So that's some of the things that you can consider depending on what your intentions are there. And in terms of your communication plan, it really just comes down to any other launch of something. You might want to tease it a little bit in advance to your email list. You could get them to sign up for a waiting list. You could launch it on a webinar. I mean, there's a lot of different, somebody's walking in my backyard. There's a lot of different things that you could do there, but that's it. It's a pretty simple thing what you got in mind. It seems like a pretty good idea as well, but what you need to do is test it with actual people. Okay, I want to move on to another one. This is one that I chose, let me find it, because it's very common. Now, this is a somebody who actually did not submit this to me through the Ask BMA form, and so I'm going to leave out his URL and his name. Well, his name's Steve, but I'm going to leave out the URL because I want to make sure he didn't send this to me in a way that was understood that I might mention it on a video. But anyway, so he's got this website. He's in the fairly new stages of it, and he had a couple of things. One is, and I've got this question a lot, how many blog posts do you need on your blog before you can launch it, so to speak? Yeah, he wants to know how many blog posts does he need ready to go in the can, sort of. Okay, so here's the deal. The blog itself doesn't really make any money, all right? And so what you need to do is not, if you want to, in terms of the money, the number of blog posts that you have in the can isn't really all that important. And really, so you need to think about what your blogging strategy is going to be. My blogging strategy is called the Redwood strategy. And instead of publishing new posts constantly, I tend to go big with mine. And then what I do is I'll come back and I'll revise them periodically. And it's called the Redwood strategy because it's like one of those redwood trees out there in California. They get super large, but they didn't get that way overnight, of course. And so that is the way I run my blog. And so therefore it's really efficient. I don't publish a whole lot of new stuff. Now, if I was just starting out from scratch, what I would do would be to probably come up with 3 to 5 hot topics for your market, like the things that people are asking all the time. You know, like in my market, everybody wants to know how to get more traffic. People want to know how to launch a blog, you know, picking a niche, stuff like this. So for me, those are the types of things that I would concentrate on. And I would sit down and I would craft a really good, solid Redwood post on those things, maybe 3 to 5 of them. And then that would be justification to say, yes, I've got a blog, here it is, okay? But what I don't want you to do is think that you now are just giving yourself a head start on the content hamster wheel and that you have to keep up some really frequent pattern of blogging, because you don't. You just need the blog to be useful. It doesn't need to be frequent. This is not an online journal anymore, all right? So to give you a set number, probably 3 to 5 Redwood posts, but setting those expectations that you're going to put out some really quality stuff. And I want you to spend your time on things that are more important to the growth of your business than constantly cranking out blog content. All right. The other thing that he was mentioning, and I'll just read it here. He was saying, some gurus say I need to do killer blog posts every day until I have about 25,000 subscribers before I try to start making any money. And then I should sign up with Mediavine. Okay. Other gurus say I should start selling a product immediately, even if I have no website or any blog posts, and I can just start with one sales page. Okay. This is the nature of it. I mean, he says himself, bottom line, all the advice out there is scattered and pulling in all directions. How do I sort through all of that and pick one direction to focus on? All right, so let me give you my input on this. This is, by the way, the exact thing that we do inside the lab with the online business roadmap. I help get you through this phase because, yes, it's really confusing if you go out there and listen to everybody who talks about blogging and online marketing because they give different advice. Now, I'm going to tell you straight up, and I'm not even going to mince my words here, the people who tell you to blog every day and wait until you have 25 subscribers and then go sign up with an ad agency, they're total morons. Don't listen to them. They don't know what the hell they're talking about, and they're blowing smoke right up the place, you know? And so they don't know what they're talking about. That's a stupid strategy. Not only do you not need to blog every day, but doing that amount of effort to get up to 25,000 and then go sign up for the stupidest monetization strategy in the known universe, which is blog ads, is a waste of your time. So I definitely err on the other. It's not even error. I just know that this is the right way to do it. You want to go for product pretty damn soon. You want to monetize very early in the game. Now, do you need to have one sales page and that's it? No. However, that's a hell of a lot more on the target than sitting there blogging every day. Because the thing is, the world of traffic on the internet has changed drastically. There are still a lot of free ways to get traffic. However, if you really want to be able to take your destiny in your hands, you need to have the ability to utilize paid traffic as well. You need to have the ability, okay? And in order to do that, you've got to be bringing in some money. Otherwise, you're just throwing dollar bills up against the wall. And so you need to go for monetization pretty fast, okay? And you could do that with a product aimed at the GOAT thing, its niche, or you could, it could be something as simple as a consulting offer or some type of a service related to your market. I mean, you can make an offer out of nothing, but you should have something there that will actually facilitate some exchange with the market, something that they can buy, okay? And then with the blog, hell no, don't blog every day. You want to do the redwood strategy, okay? You need to be efficient with the blog because you have other things to do. You need to be working on a lead magnet to build your email list and get people in the door. That's way the heck more important than your next blog post. And you want to test that. And then you need to go right into offer and you need to find something that will convert and that they would want to buy. And I would say you don't really worry too much about blogging until we get those things proven, okay? Except for maybe the 3 to 5 redwood posts. That's about it, okay? Just give them something to chomp on and get them something that shows that you know what you're talking about. And then you prove that product market fit, okay? So those other people, they're not gurus, they're morons. They're giving you bad advice. You definitely want to focus on product first. Keep the blog just useful, basic, good solid stuff there, but then you kind of stop blogging and you move on with proving product market fit. It's a funnel. You need to get people onto the list, then you need to sell something. And then once you've got those two things worked out, everything is so much easier. Whereas if you're trying to blog your butt off every day to get to 25,000, that ain't easy. That's a bad route to go. Okay. That's what I wanted to mention there from Steve's question. Let me pop over to my little outline here. Is there anything else that I wanted to go over on the weekly update today? I don't believe so. I think we're good. Okay, so if you want to submit a request or a question to me for next week's weekly update for the Ask BMA section, head on over to blogmarketingacademy.com/ask and submit your question. It comes right to me. Also, by the way, any email that goes out to my email list, if you're on my email list, if you reply and you ask a question, I might not get back to you directly. What I may actually do is utilize that for the next Ask BMA. But Ask BMA always comes from the audience, and I want to make sure that I answer those questions. I can't answer every single one due to the format, but I want to pick the ones that are going to be the most helpful for the most number of people, and those are the ones that we're going to do here on Ask BMA. So again, blogmarketingacademy.com/ask. With that, that's our weekly update. Again, today is October 25, and I will see you next week on the next weekly update. And if you're listening to the podcast, I will see you over there on the podcast. Adios. Blogging and growing a real business around your blogging can be overwhelming and seem pretty complicated. The Blog Marketing Academy was set up to do something about it. I take a systematic approach, giving step-by-step processes you can follow to get the results that you want. At Blog Marketing Academy, I don't teach blog monetization the way those other people do. Around here, we're focused on building real businesses based on solid fundamentals that will have the staying power to provide the freedom and fulfillment you want. To learn more about it, head on over to blogmarketingacademy.com/join.